What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing back at you again. Today's topic: John Bones Jones versus Israel, the last stylebender Adesanyo. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, petty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life for riches, huh? That life for riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glaze, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans and UFC fans out there, TBE Boxing back at you again. All right, so you know, this is gonna be a little comparison about Israel, the last stylebender, and John Bone Jones. As you all know, these guys have been going back and forth with each other since the last UFC 253, where Adesanyo stopped Paulo Costo in spectacular fashion in their bout. So Jones, and Adesanya has developed a kind of, I guess you can say, some type of a rivalry, and they've been going back and forth, making, comments about each other, some little insults here and there. So I mean, it's pretty interesting, so I guess somewhere down the line, we're gonna see these two guys get in the ring together, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, that would be a great fight. It seems like, I mean, I don't really know how that's gonna work because I mean, from what I know right now, John Jones is going up to heavyweight, okay, and so he's putting on muscle and putting on weight for that, and then Israel Adesanya is at 185 pounds and middleweight, so I guess they would have to meet at 205. I mean, but John Jones just relinquished his title and left 205 to go up to heavyweight. Okay, and Adesanya has been talking about moving up to 205. As a matter of fact, he's been calling himself the best light heavyweight in the world. So right now at light heavyweight we have Blakovic, who just took that from Reyes, in at when was that fight? Yeah, 2 or 3 UFC 253. So the same one Adesanya. So that fight, we saw that Blagovic knocked out Reyes. I mean, basically the thought was going into that fight is that Dominic Reyes was gonna dominate that fight because he had just came off a loss with John Jones, but the popular conception was that he did very well in that fight, and some people even thought he probably won that fight. Okay, I'm sure. I'm hearing that he even thought he won the fight, but I don't know. I saw the fight. It didn't. It was a pretty good fight, but Dominic did display some good abilities in that fight. I mean, Reyes, he he did show some good striking in that fight, and from I mean, basically what I can see from Jones is that Jones is not really that comfortable when it comes to striking. I mean, so I don't know, but anyway, Reyes had came off a good fight with Jones, and so there was a lot of talk that he should have won. That he was going to win the fight against Blagovic, but it didn't turn out that way. He ended up losing. So that's it is what it is. Now, I bring it up to say this. Dominic Reyes, like I said, displayed some good striking ability, and it seems to me that that's a weakness that Jones has. He's not a good striker. He doesn't seem to me. And even when he does, I mean, he does strike, and but he doesn't have that much power. I don't think, because I've seen him hit a couple of guys solid punches and they didn't go down. And with Israel Adesanya, I mean, if they were to fight, I'm thinking that Adesanya would probably have the advantage when it comes to striking. Now I don't know, like I said, I don't know how the mechanics of this is going to work if Jones, because Jones is being pretty aggressive, and he's he's basically calling out Adesanya at this point. You know, teasing him and saying, when are you gonna, like, he's basically saying Adesanya's afraid of him. I mean, I don't think Adesanya's afraid of him. Basically from what I can see, I would think that Adesanya would be the better striker in a fight between the two. And from what I can see from Adesanya and from Jones, if I compare the two of them in terms of striking ability, definitely Adesanya has the edge, without a doubt. A big edge. I mean, Jones is pretty good at defending himself against striking, but he's not a good offensive striker. Okay, I mean, he's okay. He's good. He's pretty good, but he's not at the level of where Adesanya is. I don't think. I think Adesanya is a much better striker than him. But Jones does have a good defense against striking. His defense is pretty good. I see that. But he does get tagged. Okay, I mean, it's not the best. His defense is is not to the point where he never gets touched. He gets touched up in his fights. People touch him constantly. So, but even though his defense is pretty good, I'm thinking that if Jones get touched by Adesanya, it's over. Okay, because we already saw the kind of power that Adesanya have in each hand. I mean, Adesanya's power is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know where he gets that kind of power from. We saw the fight with him and Whitaker. I mean, like I said previously in another one of my videos about Adesanya, my post-fight video, Adesanya, he hit that punch against Whitaker. He was going backwards. I mean, he was leaning backwards. Okay, I mean, yeah, Whitaker was coming forward, but still, Adesanya was going back when he threw that punch, and the punch just clipped Whitaker. It wasn't necessarily a solid punch, but Whitaker went down and he was almost out. I mean, it's incredible kind of power. I mean, then we saw the same thing against Costa. I mean, he threw the same punch that he did against Whitaker, and when he hit Costa, it was a glancing blow to the temple, and Costa went down. So I'm thinking that in a fight between Jones and Adesanya, the Last Stylebender, Jones would have to, like, he'd have to get to the floor as soon as possible. He'd have to take Adesanya down with a quickness. He can't stand on his feet and think that he can strike with Adesanya. That would never work. I think he'd have to take Adesanya down. Now, I don't know how good Adesanya's ground game is. He doesn't really, I hear that his ground game is pretty good. Most of the fights I've seen him in, it's been striking. And, but I do know that Jones' ground game is top notch. Okay, so as a matter of fact, that's basically what he is. He's a ground fighter. He's not really a striker like that. He'd much rather get you to the ground and then elbow you, give you some elbows and locks, and so on the ground, I would think that he'd probably be superior to Adesanya, but we don't know. But from what I'm hearing, even from Adesanya, he's saying that his ground game is pretty good as well. But we'll see. But for me, if the two of them were to fight, the advantage would go to Jones on the ground, and the advantage would go to Adesanya on their feet in terms of striking. Okay, that's what I would think, because I mean, the power that Adesanya has, we saw that on display with the Costa fight, and with the Whitaker fight, and a couple other fights. So I mean, there's no doubt that Adesanya has knockout power. I mean, he doesn't even have to hit you solidly to knock you out, as we saw with Costa and Whitaker. I mean, it's incredible. So I would think that Jones would be smart to take the fight to the ground as quickly as he can. Okay, and that's the way I would think that he would be able to win this fight, would be on the ground. I don't think if he stand up and strike with Adesanya, he has any chance of winning. I just don't see it. And more than likely, he'd probably get knocked out by Adesanya if they were to, it came down to a battle of striking. Okay, so Jones would have to take the fight to the ground. I don't think he'd be able to get in Adesanya's range to be able to throw in the elbows like I see him do a lot of these guys, because to throw the elbow, you got to get close to the guy to do that. I mean, You can't, throw an elbow from outside. You have to be inside to throw an elbow. So, and then I just don't see Jones standing there within range of Adesanyo and trying to throw an elbow. He'd probably get knocked out because, like I said, we all see that Adesanya have incredible power, and I mean Jones. I saw Jones. I mean, in the fight against Thiago, I thought Thiago hit him some good shots and hurt him a couple of times with the striking. You know what I mean? There was another fight where we saw that Jones is not really that good at striking because Thiago was outstriking him, and so was Gustafsson. He was outstriking. He was outstriking Jones as well. But the problem with those guys, I think, is that they don't have the kind of power that Adesanya have, because if believe you me, between Gustafsson and Thiago, if the amount of punches that they landed on Jones, if Adesanya land those kind of punches on Jones, it's over with. I mean, I just don't see the fight going the distance if Adesanya was to be able to land those punches that I saw Thiago and Gustafsson land on Jones. If Jones gives Adesanya any chance to land any kind of punch, because with Adesanya, it takes one punch. It's a one punch thing. So I mean, if he lands on Jones, it's all over. Because I mean, Jones didn't look very good taking those strikes from Thiago or Gustafsson. I mean, he was very, it looked like he was shooken up, especially by Thiago and also by Dominic Reyes. I mean, Reyes was striking. That, as a matter of fact, in their fight, Reyes, that's what was winning Reyes the fight, was his striking ability. Okay, and I think that, when I watched that fight, Reyes started out good, but he looked like his conditioning, was the issue with him. He wasn't able to keep up the movement throughout the whole fight. Okay, and so, he ended up losing the fight. It was a close fight. But, again, if Jones and Adesanya fight, I don't think it's going to go the distance. And I think somebody's going to get stopped, and it's probably going to be Jones. Okay, I think, if he doesn't get Adesanya to the ground and try to take advantage of his ground game, and if he stands up and try to strike with Adesanya, I think that will be a short fight, a short night. I don't think it's going to last the distance. So, that's, basically what I think about their fight, Now, this back and forth that they go, I mean, I don't know when this fight is going to happen. Hopefully it happens, and the reason I'm saying that is because, I mean, Adesanya would have to put on some weight to go up to 205, and try to see how he would fight at a heavier weight. I don't know how he look, if he could still have the same kind of movement. I mean, let's just say he went to 205 and his power increases from what it is now. I mean, that would be terrifying. I mean, can you imagine Adesanya at 205 with the kind of power that we see him at a lightweight? At middleweight, can you imagine if his power was to increase when he moved up in weight? So I mean, wow. I mean, that would be amazing. So that's another interesting thing that we'll have to look at if he was to move up. So it seems like Jones wants to fight right away. The way he's pushing, the way he's going at Adesanya, and from what I'm hearing, Adesanya was talking about, maybe a year or two down the line. But with Jones pushing him like that, it looks like he's ready to go ahead and do it in 2021. So that might be sometime in 2021, that fight. And if that was the case, man, that would be a huge fight, and everybody would be looking forward to that fight. But again, I just don't understand how that would work, because if Jones is moving up to 205, how is he going to fight Adesanya in 2021? If Jones is moving up to heavyweight, how is he going to fight Adesanya in 2021 at light heavyweight? I just don't see how. I mean, he's going to come back down to light heavyweight. I mean, that wouldn't be. I don't think that would be a very good idea. I don't know how that would work. I mean, that would be kind of strange for that to work, because that's a short time frame, So if he was to come back down, and then maybe have some problems making the weight, I don't know, then that would be all, in favor of Adesanya. All that would be in Adesanyo's favor because, I mean, having to cut weight to come down to light heavyweight, to light heavyweight, would be would I think would be an issue in such a short time period. It seems if they're going to fight in 2021. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But, let's see what happens. I mean, if the fight does happen in 2021, it definitely be a good fight. I don't think, again, Adesanya just have to move up. Now, I don't know what Jones' weight is right now. I mean, he says he's been training, and trying to put on weight for, the heavyweight. So I don't know what he's weighing right now. So I can't really make a comment on that. But, how is it gonna work? He's gonna go up to heavyweight, fight for the title up there, and then come back down and fight for the title, to get back his title at 175 pound. I mean, sorry, I'm thinking boxing. At light heavyweight at 205. So, I mean, and if he, I mean, when is he gonna fight for the heavyweight? When is he gonna have this heavyweight fight? When is that gonna be? Or is he talking about coming back down before he goes back, before he does the heavyweight fight and fight Adesanya first? So I don't know how that's gonna work. It's kind of confusing to me. So maybe there's something I'm missing. But be that as it may, if the fight happens in 2021, I'm definitely gonna watch that fight. And I'm like I said, I would think that in that fight, there's a lot of. I mean, in that fight, I'm thinking that Adesanya would probably have the advantage because of his striking ability. And if he can stay on his feet and keep Jones at range, he should be able to win the fight easily. Okay, because I don't really see Jones as a striker. He's okay, but I think Adesanya would pick him apart. Okay, if he was to come down to just striking. So, like I said previously, Jones would have to get him to the ground and take his chances on the ground. And then, from what I'm hearing, Adesanya's ground game is supposed to be pretty good, so that might not even work. But whatever the situation, it would be an interesting fight. Okay, and I would be more than glad to see it. And that's probably the biggest fight in the history of UFC. So I don't know. Maybe we need to build Adesanya a bit more. He's just I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, I think he should be ready by now. He has had enough fights, and after the next fight with depending on the outcome of the Whitaker Cannonier fight, and he's supposed to take the winner of that fight, and then I guess after that would be the Jones fight sometime in 2021. Both of those fights would be in 2021. I guess the Cannonier. Well, I don't know how that. I mean, if they have the Cannonier fight, when is Whitaker and Cannonier going to fight? Is that going to be in 2021 as well? And if that's the case, and then after that, if Adesanya takes the winner, that fight will be in 2021 as well, and then after that it will be the Jones fight. So I don't think if the fight is going to happen, I doubt if it's going to happen before 2022. Okay, but then again, you never know because the UFC is kind of different. It's not like boxing. Okay, so these guys don't play around. So the fight could happen in 2021 possibly, but I'm thinking it probably won't happen before 2022. And if I was Adesanya, I wouldn't take it before 2022. But then you never know. Adesanya, is a pretty stubborn guy. I mean, he believes in his ability, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, Jones is a big guy, so I'm strong too. But so is Adesanya. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but we saw what he did to Castro. As a matter of fact, this. I mean, these guys, Jones and that fight with Adesanya and Costa, I kind of like Costa. I mean, he's a funny guy, you know what I mean? So, I would love to see the rematch between him and between Costa and Adesanya, since after the humiliation, I think it's gonna, I think that's the thing that's driving Costa right now. You know, that whole humping thing. You know, and I think that if they were to fight again, I think Costa was going to show, he's going to throw caution to the wind and rush and try to get in there at the center, as you know, as opposed to what he did in their first fight. So that would be all interesting. But you know, Jones and Adesanyo, I mean, it's like Adesanyo just came from out of nowhere basically, and you know, he took UFC by storm, and you know, he's a very charismatic guy as opposed to John Jones, who doesn't really have that much charisma. You know, so Adesanyo is taking a lot of shine away from Jones. It looks like that's all everybody's talking about, especially with the Costa fight, you know, and the Whitaker fight, and you know, so I'm thinking that Jones is feeling a little neglected. You know, he probably a little jealousy there somewhere because he's not getting the kind of shine and publicity that Adesanya is getting, and he's been in the UFC much longer and you know done a lot more. But again, it's all about the charisma in a certain, you know, for Adesanya. He's a charismatic guy, and you know, engaging personality, you know, and so people, you know, attracted to that. You know, Jones is not really that type of a guy. Okay, he's not very charismatic. So maybe he's a little jealous of Adesanya, and he wants to, you know, smash him. You know, to let everybody know that, hey, why you talking about this guy? I'm the man. So you know, that's probably something that's in there somewhere with their rivalry. But I mean, I think the rivalry itself is good for the UFC. You know, I mean, I like the idea of them going back and forth, and you know, it's good for MMA. I mean, you know, I like it, and you know, these guys, you know, doing their thing. So if they were to fight, my money, you know, would be on Adesanya for the reasons that I already gave. You know, that the striking ability is spectacular, and I think he would definitely outstrike Jones without a doubt, and that Jones would have to take the fight to the ground to have any chance in winning against Adesanya. But he might not even get that far, because I think that the first time Adesanya connects with Jones' jaw, that's gonna be it. That's, you know, right there the fight will probably be over. You know, I don't think he's gonna be able to take the punch, because I haven't seen anybody do it so far except for Gastelum, and you know, we all saw what happened to Gastelum. You know, he got beat up pretty bad. So did Adesanya in that fight, by the way. So you know, Gastelum put a good whooping on Adesanya as well. But you know, we saw what happened that last round, and you know, they gutted it out, both of them, and Adesanya came out on top. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. So is Gastelum, by the way. I was kind of shocked that he put up a great fight against Adesanya, but he's a real warrior, and he did his thing, and he threw caution to the wind, and he did what he had to do in that fight. You know, that is Gastelum I'm talking about. So he was a great fight. That guy is definitely a warrior. So you know, a lot of people might say, well, hey, if Gastelum had so much success against Adesanya, then you know, why wouldn't John Jones have more? Well, that's a good point. Okay, I mean, the only thing I would probably have to say to that is that Adesanya probably improved a lot since that fight. Since the Gastelum fight, he got even better. Okay, and you know, I don't really see Jones as improving from what he was before. You know, say a year ago. I mean, he's basically the same fighter. Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, his striking is kind of lacking in offense, but he's pretty good at defense against striking. Okay, he throw a lot of elbows, but you have to get in close to throw elbows. So I don't think that's going to work with Adesanya. Okay, because I don't think Adesanya's going to let him get that close. And if he was to get that close, that means he'd be in punching range of Adesanya, and I think Adesanya could knock him out with one punch. You know, I stopped him, I hurt him very bad, and then knock him out. You know, so it is what it is. So that would be a interesting fight. You know, I would love to see that fight, but I'm thinking that Adesanya would win that fight. You know, and whenever it is, I'm definitely going to watch that. I would not miss that fight. That's going to be a great fight. You know, great fight. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think that's about all I have for right now. You know, I want to leave it there. But before I go, I want to show something else. You know, with the in the
You know,
in the Gastelum fight. Now, sorry, excuse me. In the Paulo Costa fight, we saw Adesanya doing the celebration there against Gastel. I mean against Costa. He humped him. As you're looking at the picture right there of it, he was humping Paulo Costa, and Paulo Costa wasn't very happy about that at all, and so he's very upset, and he's been, like he said, he's been, that's his motivation. He wants a revenge against Adesanya for that, and I don't blame him. He should, but I don't know if it's going to be any different in their next fight, but it should be interesting. I want to show you something. Let me see if I have it here. What somebody said about that same thing there, about the humiliation, but I guess I don't. Wait a minute. Let's see. Yeah, let's go forward to it right
Foremost, I think
here.
it's all Adesanya's just he's such a good striker.
Hold on there for a
and
minute.
All he's got to do.
Okay, we're gonna go back to it. I can't show too much of it, so I want to be circumspect. But let's see. Hold on for a second.
Yeah, that's why I said you're worried about.
Yeah.
Brown and split him. Brown
So here
and
it is.
split him wide open. Imagine if that had kind of gone across the neck or the jaw. That would have been it right there.
What did you make of
Check this out.
Izzy's celebration at the end with the dry humping and running over at Captain Eric and all that stuff?
That was funny. I mean, what? Why be mad about that? He didn't. The dry humping, there wasn't any penetration.
Yeah, I just wanted to show. I thought that was pretty hilarious, So we can see why Costa, is so upset and wants revenge. And I don't really blame him. That was pretty. That was, I don't know. It was funny, but I'm sure it wasn't funny to Costa. So, hopefully, I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll probably fight again soon, or sometime in the near future. I'd love to see that fight again. I'd love to see the rematch between them. But with that, that's all I have for right now. This is TB Boxing. I'm out.